Chicago Bears GM Ryan Poles had his end of season press conference where it kind of clarified some things of what directions the Bears may go in this postseason. Also, some stuff on David Montgomery and Roquan Smith gets paid. We're going to break all that down right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
All right, Bears fans, welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm one of the hosts here, Haize, and we had a postseason press conference from Ryan Poles in which there are a lot of things to take away from this, right? Ryan Poles talked so much in this press conference, and to me, it shows that not only the growth that he's had as a leader and as just directing this team, that he is very confident in where he's going in the vision that he has planned for this team. And so some of the things that were clarified in this video, and we're just going to talk about some of the main takeaways, is this Bears team is committed to Justin Fields. There's been a lot of speculation lately, stuff from ESPN and other places on should the Bears really consider drafting Bryce Young and possibly trading Justin Fields. Well, when asked about that, he said this: "Yeah, we had good conversations. I'm excited for the direction he's going. I'd have to say, be absolutely blown away to make that type of decision when they talked about drafting a quarterback at the number one overall pick. At the end of the day, it's this. I understand why the conversation goes, and I do know that there seems to be a small minority of Chicago Bears fans that actually aren't against the concept and idea of the Bears trading away Justin Fields and drafting a quarterback with this number one overall pick. Where I sit on it, I love the development that we've seen from Justin Fields. I love the potential there. I think you're going to unlock more of that with an improved team, things like that. But there was some conversation around that, and I do think that what Ryan Poles did say about it is what you can expect him to say. He's not going to say a whole lot about it to just clarify their draft plans, as they are probably trying to shop and move that number one overall pick. And we'll talk about a suitor that's possible for that number one overall pick here in a second. But that at least came clear for the Chicago Bears, at least in my opinion. The next one up, Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet is going to be a big part of this team. Ryan Poles saying that Cole Kmet had a hell of a year. And I thought he elevated his game from the film I saw last year to what it was this year. That's all from Ryan Poles. They believe in Ryan Poles. It also seems that from this press conference that the offensive and defensive line are going to be the main focus for the Chicago Bears. Now, this does play a part into the draft and what the Bears may do in the draft, as we have two great defensive linemen in Will Anderson Jr. and Jalen Carter available towards the top of that draft. But it does seem like that's where the effort's going to be focused in this. It's like building the team, building the offensive system. Coming from this, it seems like he does see some of the glaring holes on this team being that offense and defensive line. And don't be surprised if some of the early efforts and signings in free agency for the Bears are to address one of, if not both, those areas of the football team. So that's going to be an area of focus for the Bears. It's something that we here have been talking about. That's something most Bears fans expected, just looking at the way that the season went. We were towards the end of the last of the league of being able to get sacks, things like that. So the defensive line absolutely has to be a priority for this team. But you also got to look at protecting Justin Fields, allowing him more time, things like that. Offensive line is also, that's going to be an area that it seems like they're going to be looking at addressing probably first. Now, I don't know what that means for some Bears fans in their hopes of wide receiver acquisitions and things like that, even though, report came out yesterday that D-Hop may be on the market, and didn't seem like the asking price was kind of as high as maybe some of us were expecting coming into this offseason. But with that being said, it seems like the offense and defensive lines are going to be the two biggest focus for this team heading into the offseason and free agency. So, and what it boils down to when it comes to that is that just makes sense. Now, the last part of this is that David Montgomery, and it seems like Ryan Poles is a huge fan of David Montgomery, going on to say this: "I've always wanted to keep David. He's part of the identity that we had this year that kept us competitive." He said that he added that they would need to make a deal that makes sense for both sides if we can find common ground. Obviously, I learned that you can want a player, but the value has to come together for it to happen. Now, David Montgomery has also done some talking on this as well. He was asked about his future, and he says, "I want to play football." And was asked if it was with the Bears. He says, "I just want to play football. I would love for that to be here." He goes on to say, this is David Montgomery, "I love playing here. I feel like I've done everything I can and everything I could. We're just going to see what's next, but I appreciate all the Bears fans and everyone who supported me, and hopefully I'm still here. It's definitely emotional." So it seems like both sides are motivated to get a deal done. Now, to Ryan Poles' point, it doesn't always mean that a deal does get done, but I do think most Bears fans would like to see, or at least me, right? I don't speak for everyone. I don't speak for every Bears fan. You guys can sign off down below. That's the whole point of the comment section. But I will say this. I think most people do want to see, at least in my circle, David Montgomery stay. That deal does have to make sense. It has to make sense to where the Bears are headed. And, while C-Dub said that he thinks that Khalil Herbert is going to be the number one running back here, I don't see that. I think that that's David Montgomery, and I think he's earned that. And, while I understand the Bears are trying to save money and things like that, we have a lot of areas that we have to fill. I haven't gotten the vibe from David Montgomery that he's going to be one of those players that is just out to get a ton of money, that he wants it to make sense. And it seems like he is motivated to stay here. Now, to his point of when he didn't initially want to say, he just says, I just want to play football. I would love for that to be here. Again, it's posturing. That he has to go to the negotiating table. So even if in his mind, I'm not saying that it is, he absolutely just wants to stay a Bear. You can't really say that when you're asked in press conferences as you're about to go to the negotiating table. You want to have as much leverage as possible. And I'm sure his agent is probably informing him of that as well. And speaking of deals, Roquan Smith got his deal from the Baltimore Ravens, got his $20 million a year. He's going to be the highest paid off-ball linebacker, period. And so shout out to Roquan. And it's a deal that seemed like both sides got what they needed to get out of the deal. The Bears getting a second and a fifth. Roquan Smith going to a team that's in contention, and shout out to him for getting his money. Sucks that they couldn't work out a deal to keep him here, but when it's all said and done, it kind of is what it is there. You can't re-sign everybody, unfortunately. And with that being said, the Bears have a ton of free agents coming up in this draft, and what are we gonna do? We have over 30 free agents, and looking at this list, I can see a lot of these guys not coming back. When you look at Houston Carson, Nicholas Morrow, who, we'll see what happens to Nicholas Morrow. Sam Mustipher's a restricted free agent. N'Keal Harry's an unrestricted free agent. Angelo Blackson, Ryan Griffin. We have a lot of free agents. Now, a lot of these don't seem to work into the Bears' long-term plans either. What goes on with Kahari Blasingame as well, we'll see. But, it kind of is what it is. It's going to be a fun offseason for Chicago Bears fans. It's going to have us working here at Chicago Bears Central because we're going to drop an emergency episode every time a signing is announced. So this is your number one spot for that. If you want to be locked in and engaged there, we got you covered. We're definitely going to be tuned in and having those conversations. But moving on from that, I do want to end the show on this, and that's most conversations around the Bears are going to surround what happens with their number one overall pick. Well, it seems like a suitor has firmly planted their flag down and let the world know that they're willing to do whatever it takes to get a quarterback if they think that quarterback is going to change. So the Colts had their postseason presser, and their GM, Chris Ballard, said this, give up heaven and earth to trade up. When asked if he would give up heaven and earth to trade up for a quarterback, he says, yes, I do whatever it takes. Now, with that being said, the Indy Star shared a trade scenario for the Colts and the Chicago Bears, and it's one that I don't necessarily hate. So the Colts have the 4th overall pick. So in this deal, they'd be trading that 4th pick, their second rounder this year's draft, and a 2024 first rounder for the Bears' number 1 overall pick this season. And the reason why I love that is this. Now, could be said that possible that Will Anderson Jr. and Jalen Carter may still both be off the board by pick number 4. In that case, the Bears could then trade down again if another team wants a quarterback. Now, I'm not saying that that's the likely outcome, but it is a possible outcome in this. Now, in this, the Bears would have to draft whoever falls between Will Anderson and Jalen Carter. They wouldn't own that outright at that point. But I like the draft capital the Bears are getting back with this. You get a number 4 pick, another second rounder to add to the second rounder you already have in this year's draft, which could be another defensive lineman, which could be an offensive lineman, which could be a wide receiver. You get that, and you get a first-round pick in next year's draft as well. And as we all hope is that the Bears' own first-round pick isn't that great next year because the team is drastically improved. With Chris Ballard stating and planting that flag, and they would do whatever it takes to be able to get one of those quarterbacks. To me, it places the Colts as probably the best trade partner in that deal when you look at what they're able to give up. Now, that's not to say that the Texans couldn't be motivated after hearing that to give up more to make sure they get their guy and not have their guy go off the board if the Bears do decide to trade with the Colts or any other team. But I love the storylines that are shaping up for this. I love the options that are going to be at the Bears' disposal when it all shakes out for this. And whatever the Bears do with that first round pick, it could be franchise altering when we look at the future for the Chicago Bears. And hey, listen, you get a future first back on top of everything else. To me, that's a deal that you don't say no to. But again, they pay people that are supposed to be a lot smarter than me to be making these decisions. So let's see what's in store for the Chicago Bears with that number 1 overall pick. But that is it for me for today, at least of right now. If any news drops, I will drop another episode. But you can follow the show at Chi Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text and or voicemail, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number 1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related because of you guys. Make sure you guys are tuned in as this offseason heats up. The content's going to be coming real fast for you guys. Like I like to end every episode on, bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.